Good evening, Atlanta.
Hi, my name is Mindy.
Hi, my name is Kimon, and this is Channel 2 SNHP Nightly News. Thank you for tuning in to our very special episode covering the LGBT community.
We have a lot of information in store for you guys today, as well as 3 guest speakers to help us understand the various dimensions of the LGBT community.
We'd like to begin with the overview of the vital statistics and the background history to give you a glimpse of the community as a whole, and then we will move into the special guest segment for more detail looked into the cultural and communicative aspect of this unique community. According to the Pew Research Center 2013 survey, about 49 million adult men and 51 million women are members of the LGBT community in the United States.
A recent study from the Movement Advancement Project shows a total of around 260,000 of Georgians who associate themselves as part of the LGBT community. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution states that 4.2% of Metro Atlanta population identifies themselves as gay or lesbian.
Take a look at this 2013 survey. You can see a wide range of ethnicity who identify as the LGBT in the United States. The white population represents the largest population, with Black, Hispanics, and other population combined representing the smallest population of LGBT. Hey Mindy, did you know that Candler Park, Kirkwood, and Emory University Decatur neighborhoods are the popular areas that represent the LGBT community within Atlanta?
You know, Kiman, I also heard that the Atlanta LGBT residents also helped prompt the rebirth of Grant Park in the 1980s.
Look at us learning new things today. Let's move on to some highlights of the history and government of the LGBT communities over the years.
Before 1973, homosexuality was viewed as not only immoral but also a psychological illness until the American Psychiatric Association declared otherwise. Movements for gay rights began in the 1920s. However, it wasn't until November of 1950 in Los Angeles that gay rights activist Harry Hay founded America's first national gay rights organization.
In the 1970s and 80s, gay political organization proliferated around the globe, but particularly in the US and Europe. In May of 2004, Massachusetts became the first state to legalize gay marriage.
Fast forward to 2015, often called the banner year for the LGBT community, the Supreme Court legalized gay marriage, public opinions became increasingly more accepting of transgender identities, and some 450 openly gay officials have been elected are currently serving across the U.S.
According to the Future of Children, about 2 million to 3.7 million U.S. children under the age of 18 may have a lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender parents, and about 200,000 are being raised by same-sex couples.
Adoption and the use of reproductive technologies like artificial insemination and surrogacy are increasing.
Shows like The Foster, Modern Family, Nashville, and Empires display family-oriented LGBT interaction are becoming increasingly more popular. According to healthypeople.gov, efforts to improve the LGBT health are necessary to ensure that individuals can live long, healthy lives. Some benefits of addressing health concerns and reducing disparities include reduction in disease transmissions and progressions, increased mental and physical well-being, reduced health care costs, and increased longevity.
Here are some health-related issues that require attention. LGBT youth are 2 to 3 times more likely to attempt suicide. LGBT youth are more likely to be homeless. Gay men are at higher risk of HIV and other STDs, especially among communities of color. LGBT populations have the highest rates of tobacco, alcohol, and other drug usages. In an effort to dig deeper to understand the LGBT community, I invite you to consider a discussion from a communication specialist from the Washington International Center. She is here to discuss the LGBT community in the context of American values outlined by Robert Cole, the Executive Director of the Washington International Center. Please welcome our specialist, Gretchen.
Thank you for having me tonight. The essay covering Cole's values was designed to introduce foreign visitors of the United States to cultural normalcies which they may not encounter in their own countries. Today, I'll discuss 4 of these values and apply their meaning to the LGBT community within the United States. The values I want to cover tonight are equality, egalitarianism, individualism and privacy, future orientation, and directness, openness, and honesty. All of these values, as applied to the LGBT community, are interrelated and affect one another. Let's begin with equality and egalitarianism, which centers on the idea that Americans are created equal. Cole states that Americans believe everyone should have an equal opportunity to succeed in life. With that said, I think it's safe to say that equality can be an uphill battle in American society, especially for the LGBT community. For instance, until June 26, 2015, the Supreme Court still ruled gay marriage illegal, despite its legal progress and status within some individual states. Another example is how people still use incorrect pronouns when referencing members of the community. Furthermore, transgender people still cannot serve in the military, although the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy was found unlawful in 2011. This demonstrates how while progress is finally being made, there is still conflict and inequality. However, in regards to the level of equality that the community has gained so far, it is important to address individualism and privacy. What makes Americans stand out is our drive to be individualistic. People who live in the United States are generally celebrated for being unique, which lends itself to a variety of communities and cultures, and specifically helps open up a dialogue about the LGBT community. The community is now able to have the discussions with politicians and citizens alike to change the conversation about the community from one of negativity to one of positivity. This opens up opportunities for individuals within the community to express who they are, to embody this individualistic American ideal without fear of judgment. But there is still a ways to go. Moving on, Cole's values describe how Americans put emphasis on future orientation. Americans are goal setters. This means we are driven to create a better future for our society, and the LGBTQ community is no different. The hope for the label LGBTQ is to not carry negative connotations. The hope is for the future for more people to feel comfortable coming out because they will be openly accepted and viewed as equal. When this happens, these negative connotations will disappear and there will be seamless equality. Finally, Cole discusses directness, openness, and honesty as an important American value. This value can work both for and against the community. While it gives members of the LGBT community the power to express their truth, they also receive a lot of intolerance for people outside of the community due to lack of education on proper communication and language. And what is worse is the outright direct hostility and intolerance from people who believe it's just wrong or immoral. Unfortunately, this is still rampant today. In fact, 90% of transgender people report harassment and mistreatment in their place of employment, which circles us right back around to this fight for equality. To wrap up, what I would like you all to take away from Cole's values in regards to the LGBT community is that these experiences are not unique. American subcultures and communities grapple with similar struggles as well as similar goals every day. Understanding these similarities within various communities can help create better and more equal intercultural relationships in society as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you for that very insightful information on Cole's value, Gretchen. I'd like to shift gears now and introduce Ashley, who will be discussing the Hofstede dimensions.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ashley, and I will be discussing with you all the Hofstede dimensions. Gert Hofstede has been conducting cultural research since 1980 and has identified 4 cultural dimensions as individualism versus collectivism, masculinity versus femininity, power distance, and as well as uncertainty avoidance. The 3 dimensions I will mainly be addressing today will be how the LGBT community depicts values of collectivism, femininity, and low uncertainty avoidance. For starters, Hofstede states that in collectivist cultures, the interest of the group prevails over the interest of the individual. People who identify as a collectivist group tend to have strong, cohesive in-groups that continue throughout a lifetime to project in exchange for unconditional loyalty. Although the LGBT community has been working towards one goal, 2 distinct groups have formed within. They are the queer theorists who emphasize the differences between the LGBT community and the other group being mainstream heterosexual society who focus their efforts on gaining acceptance and equality of this community by all in this society. Despite the formation of the 2 different agendas within the LGBT community, there's still a sense of cohesiveness that unites both the sides of the spectrum to achieve common goals. Not only does the LGBT community identify as a collectivist group, they also identify as a feminine culture. According to Hofstede, those labeled as feminine cultures are those that permit more overlapping social roles for the sexes. Cultures that place a high value on feminine traits stress quality of life, interpersonal relationships, and concerns for the weak. With that being said, it is evident that the LGBT community does not have set gender roles. Although there are some gay and lesbian persons who fit the stereotypes and misconceptions of gay men and lesbian women, they do not represent all who identify as either. For example, a man who identifies as gay does not necessarily have to be flamboyant or act feminine, and the same applies with lesbians. A woman who identifies as lesbian does not have to dress or act masculine or have short hair, as they are always stereotyped. Both men and women can be as feminine or masculine as they wish and can still identify as gay or lesbian respectively. And last but not least, the final Hofstede dimension I want to discuss is uncertainty avoidance. According to Hofstede, uncertainty avoidance is defined as the extent to which people in a culture feel threatened by uncertain or unknown situations. Cultures with strong uncertainty avoidance try to minimize the outcome of unknown situations and proceed in situations with caution. Cultures with weak uncertainty avoidance, on the other hand, welcome unusual circumstances and are more susceptible to changeable environments. For instance, publicly announcing one's sexual orientation to the public, or commonly known as coming out, is a common occurrence amongst members of the LGBT community. This is an example of low uncertainty avoidance due to the fact that over the years, acceptance of LGBT by the general public has increased. In July of 1977, Gallup reported that the 43% of surveyed groups believe that gay or lesbian relations between consenting adults should be legal. The percentage of this statistics dramatically increased to 68% by July of 2015. With increasing rates of acceptance by the general public, this has caused an increase in rates of coming out of LGBT members respectively. In conclusion, if rates of acceptance of LGBT community increase, that will directly impact the increasing rates of members coming out. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure to discuss with you all today the different aspects of the Hofstede dimensions.
We'll be right back following these commercials.
That's a Kindle, right?
Yeah, it's a new Kindle Paperwhite.
I love to read at the beach, but
This is perfect at the beach. And with the built-in light, I can read anywhere, anytime.
done.
With your book?
Nope, I just bought a Kindle Paperwhite. We should celebrate.
My husband's bringing me a drink right now.
So is mine.
Dun 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 dun. Cooper, I am your father.
No, no, no. I am your father.
That's gotta be the worst Vader ever.
Campbell's Star Wars Soups.
How about you be Chewbacca?
Made for real life.
We now return to our regularly scheduled program.
We want to wrap up this special with the topic of verbal and nonverbal communication within the LGBT community. We have a special guest here, Sarah, a communication specialist, who is going to help us understand how specific words can be either harmful or supportive for the communication. Let's welcome Sarah.
Hi Sarah, we are so happy to have you join us this evening. Please enlighten us on how communicative aspects impact the LGBT community.
Great, well thank you for having me here, I'm so happy. So first and foremost, I'd like to say that it's imperative to respect an individual's self-identification. This notion should extend past the LGBT community and be applied to anyone. One should never make assumptions about someone else based on their appearance. If there's ever a situation where there's uncertainty, it's best to ask how they identify, as well as what terms they find respectful, and also to keep in mind their wishes when you're speaking with them and creating a connection. With that being said, we should delve deeper into how our words can positively and negatively affect the people in the community. Alright, let's look at a list of words that are inappropriate to use. Do you find any of these words surprising? Words that seem innocuous and that we hear fairly often can actually be hurtful and offensive. Now let's look at a list of words that have appropriate terminology. A simple shift in terminology can make a big difference when you're making a connection with someone. Changing your terminology can make them feel accepted and valued instead of degraded and insulted.
Interesting. Yeah, I agree. It is amazing how the impact of one word can have on a person.
Yes, that's very true, Mindy. You know, people just truly want to feel respected. And, you know, for a country that values individualism, it is our responsibility to learn how to effectively and respectfully communicate with others. And I hope that today I've shed light on how we can make connections with people and communicate with others in a respectful and loving manner.
Thank you, Sarah.
Our last topic of the evening is nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication can be defined as messages sent without using words.
Nonverbal communication can be expressed through symbol, touch, gestures, and facial expression, to name a few. We want to provide a clip from a recent gay pride parade which took place here in Atlanta, Georgia last fall.
While watching this clip, be sure to take note of the use of the rainbow symbol and how it is used to express unity and pride within the community.
Also, look for the gestures, dance, and facial expression of the participants and viewers of the festival. Notice how all of this verbal communication serve to bring people together to raise support and celebration for the LGBT community. Thank you for joining us tonight for this very special coverage of the LGBT community.
We hope you are able to take the information that you learned and apply it to your own community. Have a great night.
Bye. Good evening, Atlanta. According to healthypeople.gov, efforts to improve LGBT health are necessary to ensure that LGBT individual can we start over?
Yeah.
Good evening, Atlanta.
Hi, my name is Mindy.
My name is Kimon, and this is Channel 2 SNHP Nightly News. Thank you for tuning in for our very special episode of
People who identify as a collectivist group tend to have strong, cohesive in-groups that continue through a lifetime to protect and exchange for unquestioning,
which circles us right back around to this fight for equality. To wrap up, I would like you all. No, I don't want to redo.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure of discussing.